As I stated in our last episode that we talked about Erica Mena, I said, is Erica Mena burning down the house? Okay, along with Bethany Frankel. All right, is she burning down the house that is love and hip hop? The timing of all of these things that are occurring right now in the media with Bethany's, I don't want to say Bethany's, but with the Vanity Fair article coming out and really just, I mean, exposing a lot and making a lot of allegations about how reality TV, specifically Bravo related shows, are run behind the scenes, or at least on some of them. Okay. And again, we say alleged. But Erica also makes an interesting case for a deeper look into the Love and Hip Hop franchise as well. Now, of course, we're talking about part two of Carlos King's interview with Erica Mena. All right. Now, we have a lot to cover in this particular review slash recap. So I'm going to ask that you bear with me. Sorry, I had to change my microphone if the sound got altered. And we've got a lot to cover. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Sky Squad, we are back in the building and we have got to break this down because it was very interesting. If you guys have seen the clip that's floating around social media right now that Carlos posted as a promo, it basically is a clip of Erica stating, that she knew that the day was coming where the episode would air, but she had been filming for months. But for her, she wonders if the incident with her calling Spice what she called her was as bad as the network made it sound, then why wasn't she fired when it happened? So I want you guys to bookmark this thought because we're going to come back to it after we get down further into the get down with this particular recap. All right. So immediately, thank God, I was so happy that we dove right into her and this whole idea of her calling Spice a blue monkey. All right. So Carlos mentions that when Spice made the comment about Erica's son not liking her, how it seemed like the life just went out of Erica's face and she flipped the table and called Spice the monkey. Now, I hate to actually use the terminology, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it because it was said, right? And at the end of the day, I feel like it's said too many times and I got to review this information too many times for me to keep skipping it. So I'm going to try my hardest to skip it, but sometimes I might end up and slip up and say it. Okay. Now, for me, we know I'm not referring to her as that, but that was the word that was used. And so that's the terminology that we got to go with. So anyway, Erica makes it clear that a lot happened inside the restaurant. And also, too, there may be people who are watching this who did not know what was said. And so I don't want to keep avoiding it. So now you know if you didn't know before. Erica says a lot happened inside the restaurant that was edited out. For instance, when she flipped the table, she says Spice fell on the floor. She makes it seem like she fell flat on her face or she fell flat on her butt. I don't really know. Because of all the food, security apparently rushed out and Erica gets on the couch and starts throwing stuff at Spice, so they take her outside. Later on, she will claim that Spice was really angered by the idea that, Erica got the better of her and she fell on the floor, and she was upset about that because she had just recently had the surgery, as you guys may recall if you watched the show. Now, getting back to her explanation, she says that she's outside talking to the producers after the incident of the table flipping, and she sees Spice come to the window. Now, she says that she sees Spice lifting up the blinds, yelling out the window, banging on the window pane, and then pulling her pants down or something to that degree. I don't know if she pulled her pants down, but she basically showed her butt at the window. So when Erica realizes that Spice is doing all of this and taunting her, she says that the banging on the window and putting her butt up to the window, she felt like Spice was acting like a monkey. Okay. And so at that point, she calls her an animal. Now, she says in that moment, she was not speaking about an entire race of people. She was simply referring to the way Spice was acting. Okay. And she says that she respected Spice so much. They came on the show around the same time. They spent so much time apart from their kids to provide for their, apart from their kids to provide for the kids. And Erica says she tried to give Spice that respect when they sat down for that conversation. Now, going back to that conversation when it was aired, I did feel like Erica was laying it on extra thick to make amends for Spice. I felt like everybody throughout the season tiptoed and tap danced on eggshells around Spice, who definitely has acknowledged. Okay, I was going through her social media today, and there was several posts. Well, really one post that she made at the end of the season. I think it was September the 26th, if I'm not mistaken, that she makes mention that she was going through a lot this season and that she was constantly on edge, and she was dealing with a lot of anger that she needs to, do some work to resolve. So I do feel like Erica came into that conversation with the intent to give her side, as she states later on as we get down into the weeds. Um, I do feel like she was genuinely surprised when Spice spoke about her son not liking her. But I still disagree with the usage of the word, okay, and the repeated use of the term. And also too, like, you know, with Erica having grown up in the way that she has in such a diverse, culture, and that's rich with diversity, and being on the diversity and inclusion committee down to the New York. I just feel like, this whole idea of a monkey, I feel like she should know that using it toward and directing it towards a person of color, specifically a black person, a black woman at that, is going to be a no good. Um, but we'll dive into that further because Carlos is going to really get into that in just a bit. All right. So when she found out Spice was in the hospital, she said she found out from some really good friends who live in Jamaica. Where she knows some black people now. So she called Carly Red. Carly Red didn't pick up, so she called Bam and Sierra. And in that moment when Spice mentioned her son, she was thrown off because just months prior, the first thing that Erica said she thought about were Spice's kids. So she gets emotional about that because she's like, well, what if something had happened to Spice? But again, this to me is a cautionary tale. And I meant to start off this video with this notion. This is a cautionary tale to me about why you have to understand when it is time to leave the world of reality TV. Specifically, if you know that you are a personality who mostly thrives in conflict, okay? You came in on this franchise on some conflict, and now you left on this franchise on some deeper conflict. You have got to know when it is time to pivot. Now, I understand that she was under contract and she had options that she had to fulfill. But my thought is, when you know that your star outside of the show is beginning to eclipse what you want, okay, well, what this show is really about for you, then you have to go into set either doing one or two things. You have got to find a way to get out of this contract, or you have got to go into this show and give them nothing, because 15 years into this system, this reality TV world that you've been in, that you have been thriving off of conflict, and not by thriving I mean paid, okay? Mentally you might not be thriving, but your pockets is, okay? Well, allegedly, because I don't think she's making the type of money that Jocelyn left with, who also thrived in conflict, but that's a different story. And I can break that down for you, but I think that would be too deep for where we need to go today. But what I will say is, in this particular instance, when you start to have these deals and these brand deals or these partnerships and these movies and doing the acting and all of these things that are outside the scope of the world of reality TV, for which you have continuously thrived in conflict, then you've got to say to yourself, I can no longer be about the same conflict that I used to be about. And I'm going to have to learn how to tone down my responses, because otherwise everyone is going to know that all they need to do is say something inflammatory to set you off, and they know that you're going to react and you're going to give what you've always been giving. So either you have got to go into the season with the mindset of, I'm going to give you all nothing so that you don't have anything to get with me. Okay. You can do that. You can do that. You can. Okay. And you got to make that decision. Nothing is going to impact me, because what I'm doing outside of here brings me greater joy than what than this establishment does. right? So you got to do that. And I am looking. There are a couple of reality TV stars that I'm thinking about right now that I see the impact that they're making outside of the world of reality TV. And my fear is for those particular individuals that if you stay in this situation, it is going to continue to put you in situations that are detrimental to the work that you're trying to do outside of this genre, right? Of the world of reality TV. So if you can't control your emotions, if you can't control yourself, and they know that all they need to do is get you to react, then that's what's going to happen. I mean, it is what it is because you came on conflict, and now they're going to. So that is your thing. That's what you're going to be known for is conflict. I have the same. I have to be very honest with you. I have the same fear for Candace. Candace, I feel like is a extremely talented singer. Musician. She's an artist and she's doing the acting. If I were her, this would be my last season of the Real Housewives of Potomac. Go out on a high note because I feel like she has the opportunity to really expand. And then the only thing that I would come back and do is the Bravo cons, and I would do the ultimate girls trip where you can just get in and get out, and you ain't got to worry so much about being the reaction person, okay, that gives the big reaction and the big reads, because ultimately they will just keep getting worse, okay? It will just keep what is happening to you that is causing you to react will only get worse. That's the truth of the matter. And you have to then either get worse with it or give less. And it would be better for you to go out on your own high note. I have always had this belief that you leave the party before the lights come on. Okay. That's whether you at the club, that's whether it's a job. You know what I'm saying? You got to know when to go. You got to know when the party is over. And my advice is always to leave before you're thrown out. Leave before you're escorted out. Leave before you do something that causes you to be put out. Okay. That's just my thoughts. And listen, I get it. We the people like to be entertained, but when trust and believe, if you couldn't see this coming for Erica Mena in some way, shape, or form, then you probably were blind. All right. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I expected it to be some type of racist comment, but I definitely feel like girl, it's inevitable that something is going. It's literally like a snowball that just gets bigger as you continue to roll down the hill. But I digress. The other thing that I was going to say is, as she's getting emotional saying she was thinking about Spice's kids, it's then ironic to me that, you will then put yourself in a position to say, because of your anger, that you think that Spice should have died on the table. See, this is where I have to be critical of the responses that she's giving during this interview, because I know what she said, right? And I would have to be in a very, very deep and dark and angry place for me to ever, wish somebody dead. I don't think I've ever done that in my life. And I've had people do some crazy things to me, but I've never wished that on anybody. So for me, I feel like, girl, that's something it's something in you that you need to work on. Okay. Anyway, and she feels like the person who made Spice feel comfortable saying all of this was Safari, because apparently, Safari told the story wrong to Spice. There was a scene that was not aired. Erica alleges that Spice was playing voice notes for Sierra and Bambi. The voice notes were from Safari saying that Erica got upset and started throwing things around the house because he started crying about Spice's situation when she was in the hospital. Now, Erica says that, picture Safari crying for somebody other than himself, okay? And she says, consider the source, essentially. And to be quite honest with you, there is nothing that I find to be very authentic about Safari in any way, shape, or form on any of these shows. I don't think anything is real. I think he is just simply like a paid actor, and he's just basically going through the shows and going through the motions, knowing that he can cause drama and chaos in these people's lives. That's honestly what I think. Apparently, what she actually said was, when she told him about Spice being in the hospital, he says that he didn't know what to do if something happened to Spice. But she was like, well, I was just in the hospital with your child and you was on vacation and didn't flinch, but all of a sudden it's Spice and you about to break down. Like that don't make no sense to me. Um, she attributes, and I do feel like Safari had a part to play in that, but I can't blame everything on Safari because Spice also, took that situation and ran with it herself and made it her mission to actually be the person to confront Erica about these allegations that Safari is saying, specifically because he had also gotten in her ear about Erica reacting to her being in the hospital, which we know made her extra sensitive, right? So when Carlos tells her that she has to realize that calling a black person a monkey or an animal is viewed as a slur, he says the audience is split about this. And by and large, you guys have been. There's one side of you that says, well, when you say something about my child, all bets are off and I'm just and anything goes. And the other half is like, well, girl, you's a racist, okay? Essentially. He wanted to Carlos wanted to talk to her about the use of that word. Did she have any idea that the word is considered a racial slur, considering her use of the word in the past? She says that it's been used by her, but not because she meant it in any racial way. She says that she doesn't want to say the wrong thing now because she knows how sensitive it is and she understands the damage and she's more remorseful about that. She knows that she's been on this platform so long because she's so relatable, whether they loved her 1 week or they hated her. And she's more concerned with making amends with the viewers and the cast members who are falling in line because the producers told them afterwards. Not so much she ain't worried about making amends with them. She says that the cast members are just in it for the NDA and a check because we saw that happen at the table. And I'm assuming she's talking about that roundtable discussion. She says she knows she disappointed a lot of people. She doesn't have the words to put together to explain why she said it in the past. This is where we have to kind of chime in and say, girl, okay, so you've been accused of using this word and it's been shown that you have used it. Do you guys feel like she knew that this was a slur, or do you feel like she was ignorant to the fact? Because I just find it hard to believe that in such a diverse community, you are walking around completely unaware that this term could be potentially perceived in such a negative light. And in that instance, it's ignorance. But is it ignorance or is it willful ignorance? That's the question I'm having a hard time with her. She says it's just a coincidence that that she has said it to black people in the past, and she admits that she's even called her sister a monkey before. She's just used it with the intent to be hurtful or playful. And she comes from a blended family, and now she's mindful that she can never say it again. And Carlos really wants her to understand, because if no one in the past has checked her on it, he wonders if she ever had if she's had anybody check her on it. She says she doesn't really answer this question, and she says it's complicated. She can't justify it. She can only take accountability and be more mindful and aware of what she says in the future. She does some more apologizing and is adamant that she's not a racist or a colorist. And Carlos asks, what would she like to say to the black community who may feel like some Latin women feel love black men and want the rhythm of the black experience, but not the blues that come along with the black experience. She says that Latin women have those stereotypes too, like they just want to come in and take other people's men. And she says growing up in New York, everyone was infused in this melting pot. Even her best friend was black. She says that she would like to say to people who feel like that, she knows it's going to take some time, but if she could be given that time and that grace, not only will she be making up for that, but she'll be constantly working to prove that how sorry she is. She doesn't really know how she's going to do this, and that's a through line throughout this. But Carlos asks, would you like to apologize to Spice for calling her a monkey? Erica says, I would have if she was genuinely broken from that comment, but the day that it happened, she went live for 3 hours and alleged that Erica had the STDs, talked all kinds of stuff about her relationship with Safari, and Spice did not know that Erica had called her that comment until producers told her later. and she was actually more upset because the table made her fall flat on her face because she just had surgery. That apparently is also the reason why Kirk and Rashida were initially upset. And apparently, no one knew about the monkey comment until producers made them aware. Erica says that she even had lawyers contacting her after Spice went live. And remember, this is before the episode had aired, but after it was filmed. Erica says that lawyers contacted her to find out if she wanted to sue for defamation of character, and that she wouldn't have even had to put any money up for them to take her case. The next week, apparently, Spice was making subliminals about Erica being on Tubi, and she felt like if Spice was genuinely hurt, she would sit up there in her blue shoes and apologize. Carlos then asked if she felt like she was set up by production. She says she felt like production felt like it would be great for ratings until the backlash started, and then they likely lost sponsors. So she felt like then they wanted to promote racism, but when they did, it backfired on them, and then they had to have table talks. She felt like if they were going to show her comments, then they should have shown Spice falling, since that's what Spice was initially really mad about. Okay, let's talk about that. This is a point of contention for a lot of people, and I'm just going to lay it to you guys flat. And I want to ask you guys this question. If they had fired her immediately and put out a statement that said, Erica has been let go from the season of Love and Hip Hop, due to, a use of a slur, would you guys have appreciated that more? Or would you guys have not believed that it happened unless you saw it for yourself? Now, I feel like reality TV is a lot of, again, it's show and tell. I sometimes need to see things in order to understand how it happened or believe it happened. But for you as a viewer and your viewing experience, knowing what we know now, would you have rather not seen it at all? Let me know that. Because what I do feel like is the network is going to network. Okay. And if the production company feels like they got a story to tell, then they're going to try to tell their story, and they're going to try to milk it for all it's worth. But the problem is that Erica is also revealing that, again, she was still filming, i.e., they were filming, I'm assuming, the second half of the season. So she says that a big part of the second half of the season was actually concerning her. And now, because they have chosen to fire her because of the backlash, that they are having to scramble to figure out what to do, because so much of the second half of the season was about her, and people were taking sides. Like she says, Jessica White took her side. She says that Bambi, had her back, and the cast was very split. Now they're forced to try to figure out what to do. Okay. She feels like producers did her dirty, and she feels like they did her dirty in the beginning when they barely paid her, and they did her 20 times worse in the end. Now, she also goes on to say that, Carlos says, ask her how she's been working on, understanding her issues. Since she does have Black kids, she will have to educate herself on the plight of Black people. And, she's kind of like, she's vowing to be more mindful and yeah. I mean, she says that this is when we get to that point in the beginning where I told you guys to bookmark it. And she says that she knew she effed up that day, but she had been filming for months since that happened. And she knew this day was coming, but didn't expect it to be this bad. She says what's not okay is how, if this was as bad as the network says it is, why wasn't she let go a long time ago? Now, again, I feel like the network is going to network. And so they're going to get what they need to get until they feel like, and if they feel like they got a story to tell, they're going to run with it. It is what it is, right? She says that she would have been more content with the way they did it. She would have been more content if she had been fired early on than the way that they did it. She says that they chose to promote something that producers brought to Spice's attention. Then they promoted the fight for most of the year to promote the show. So they sat on this footage long enough to handle the situation differently. She feels as a network and a franchise, they use the people and suck them dry for the success of the show, but they used it without thinking about her life in the aftermath. She says, and now see, that is very interesting because it echoes similar sentiments to some things that Bethany and others have stated in that Vanity Fair article that we talked about yesterday. Now, she did not find out until that she was suspended until that Saturday after the episode aired, when we all found out. She saw the post on Instagram, called her lawyer, and asked if they got anything official and if this meant that she was free because she was ready to get out of their options. She says they didn't get a letter, and when they finally got a response from the attorneys, he claimed that he tried to get in touch with her lawyer, but the call wouldn't go through. So that she says that the crazy thing about it was even up to that Friday before the day before they released that statement, she was still working in the green screens. And because of all this, that's when she tells us they're scrambling to figure out what to do about the second half of the season because they were filming for it. Has she heard from Bambi and Sierra? She says she will never hear from Sierra again. She made sure of that. But she does speak to Bambi all the time. She says Sierra is weird. Why did it take Sierra 20 days to tell her that Safari allegedly wanted to get with her? And she believes that Sierra was actually probably contemplating getting with him. And she says that Sierra going live solidified it for her, and that Sierra likely felt guilty about wanting to get with Safari. That was what I took from that. Now, again, let me put the alleged badge up here because that's the way I understood her saying it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, and again, when I talked to you guys last week, I talked to you about all the people that I felt like she said she was going to take down with her. Okay. And here's that list. All right. Here is that list. So then Carlos asked about Mona's post. Remember the one that said it's handled? And then Mona later went on to a radio show and said she had nothing to do with the show and she was more speaking about what the network did. How did Erica feel about that? Erica says she's not going to expect anything real from a woman that can't even be real with the people that have helped her make this franchise, especially when she knew that Erica signed a low and dirty deal in the beginning. And then now Erica seeing Jocelyn's interview, she's realizing that Mona never really, valued her work at all. She feels like Mona has never done right by any of them except for Yandy, who she calls Mona's professional butt kisser. And she says, besides Cardi B, who has really been able to blossom outside this franchise? And I would wager to say probably Jocelyn. But again, that's a different circumstance that I would go down. But I feel like similar to what I said earlier about somebody thriving in conflict, that is definitely also Jocelyn. But I think that Jocelyn has found a way to thrive in conflict outside of this show. And she's not necessarily looking to be the actress that Erica Mena is trying to be, right? I don't want to say trying to be in the sense that she's not doing it. I'm saying that that is her ultimate goal. Jocelyn's goal is obviously ultimately to be Jocelyn and to continue to thrive in conflict. Erica is trying to get away from that. So that's why her level of success is not aligning with the way that Jocelyn's is. Let me know if that makes any sense to you guys. And if not, I'll break it down further in another video. But anyway, Erica goes on to say, because we watch your shows, Carlos, and we see how the women are able to be seen as humans. She says Married to Medicine is one of her favorites, and the women there go through stuff in real life and they have their moments, but she's sure that on set with Carlos, they aren't pouring liquor down the people's throats beforehand. And she says it's formulated. Now, again, this goes back to something that was stated in the Vanity Fair article that, was alleged by not only, I believe, Bethany, but also by some anonymous housewives, as well as, I think, Leah, this idea that production is allegedly, throwing alcohol at the ladies or whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, but you don't have to drink, technically. Like, when I did my show, I drank because I wanted to. I didn't drink because nobody shoved anything down my throat. Nobody said that. They were simply following me around, and that was it. That's what I would have done normally on a Sunday Funday anyway. So I just did what I was normally doing. So I don't know about, like, I guess people can encourage you to do things, and you may think it's easier to get through it by drinking, which is something that was also alleged in the article. But at the end of the day, it's like, if that ain't in you to drink, then you're not going to drink. Period. Now, regarding the colorism special and her not being involved with it, she felt like they had to do that. That's why that specific cast was brought in. They signed NDAs and got a little extra check, and they knew who to pick to do that. She says that segment should have been implemented in their franchise going back to the early days for different topics if you're really going to make it a teachable moment. She says they did that because sponsors pay the bills, and when sponsors pull out, they got to figure it out. And she says, honestly, it should have been just her and Spice, but they didn't want her to expose how a producer is the person that told Spice what happened. It's not like Spice heard her say the monkey comment, and then how Spice ranted for a week about Erica allegedly having STDs, and not once did she make it about that comment until they told her to keep it under wraps. Then they allowed her to speak about it once it aired, and she said the wrong things. Basically, she is talking about how in her interviews, Spice was saying that Erica called her a black monkey when she actually called her a blue monkey. I don't know if that makes it any different for anybody, but that was also something that I picked up on. Just a little thing because I'm constantly making notes, right? Then regarding the discussion with Yandy, she says she didn't take Yandy seriously when Yandy tried to call her out in that scene because she said Yandy has called her an ASS monkey at least 5 times in a 2015 interview on Hot 97. That's why she said Yandy was choosing to be offended by that comment because she has also called Erica a monkey as well. All right. She says they didn't show the entire scene. They only showed clips of that scene to be beneficial to the episode. Now, that scene that she's referring to was actually a Bambi bachelorette party that was allegedly only pulled together so that everybody could come at Erica about the comment she made to Spice. She says they even had Shekinah come in who didn't even like Bambi, okay? And Shekinah was so scared to do anything that she brought security with her and still never said anything. She said Sierra didn't know what to do, and the only people that had anything to say were Kirk and Rashida and Yandy. And then she goes on to say Kirk with his 4 earrings. I'm not sure what she was getting at by that 4 earrings comment, but I mean, for me, I'm not sure. Again, like I said, where you going with that? Because I'm like, girl, have you learned anything? Like, because what is that? What is that? What is that indicating? What is that indicating for you? You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I mean, I got 2 holes in these ears. Actually, I got an earring right here. I got 2 more here. So I got like 6. What? How many is that? Like, actually, that's like 7, right? I got 7 in my face. So what is that saying? That's what I really want to know, right? So Erica wonders why Yandy couldn't call her and why she waited until it was a film moment to address it. And she feels like Yandy was just the wrong person to have that conversation with anyway, because she has also called Erica a monkey. She felt like at the time, she felt like it was a normal term to use, but based on what she has learned, she knows now that it doesn't matter that it seemed normal before, that it's harmful. And she's realized the power of her words. Based on what's next, this is where we go back to my initial comments about knowing when to exit the world of reality TV. Because she's been suspended from Love and Hip Hop, and All Black has made a statement about her not working with them anymore. She says that that's probably the lowest blow for her, because she worked her butt off to bring her character on Hush to life. And she was also filming Love and Hip Hop and doing Hush at the same time. And she talks about, letting her producers or co-stars and everybody down from that production. And to have that taken from her because of something that she was trying to leave behind, she feels that loss. And again, this is why I say you have got to know when to leave the party. Because ultimately, if you know that you have thrived in a certain environment because of conflict, you will continuously be used as a tool for conflict. And it will only get worse. So once you know that you are trying to make that pivot, you have got to modify your life and take stock of what's really important. And even if you can't get out of that contract, then you can just give them nothing. I am sure we have all seen reality TV stars who just appear to have checked out. That's your choice. That's your choice at that point. Now she says she wants a private life, but also doesn't feel like she's done telling her story or reality TV or TV in general. So I'm like, if I were you, I would probably take the private route for just a little while. I mean, I think that would probably be for the best. Um, Lastly, she says that she waited so long to do this interview because she felt like she wanted to take in what people were feeling and be considerate of what people were thinking and saying. And now that she's officially done with Love and Hip Hop, she says that all good things have to come to an end. And it's unfortunate because, as I stated earlier, we all know that a party is ending. We have to leave before the lights come on. And so that is our review of this Erica Mena situation. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. And of course, I will catch you all in the next video.